Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Barber, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
The military's new don't ask, don't tell. When it comes to Christianity, it's safer not to ask about it, and it's safer not to tell about it. Hi, I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action. Joining me in studio today is Shawn Akers, Liberty Counsel's Vice President of Middle Eastern Affairs. And Shawn, Matt Staver and I talked a little bit about last week about how the hostility from this Obama administration and from today's military personnel in the higher ranks toward Christianity and those who hold biblical values, particularly relative to the issues surrounding homosexuality, but all sorts of issues, life and the Second Amendment and other issues, how the hostility has just been ramped up under this Obama administration. Have another instance here now with a Senior Master Sergeant Philip Monk, a medic in the military, long-time service, 19 years of service. His career is now on the line, not for anything he said, but for what he refused to say. His lesbian commander basically asked him to say verbally that if you take a position for traditional marriage and defense of traditional marriage, that is somehow discrimination. Well, they said, that by allowing open homosexuality in the military, that Christians would not be persecuted. Well, we've seen case after case now that prove that is simply not the case.
Matt, you've pointed out very well in your opening line that in just a few short years, we've come from, under the Clinton administration, to don't ask, don't tell being applied to homosexuality in the military, to a place where it very well seems safest not to mention your Christianity, that we may very well have entered a time of don't ask, don't tell Christianity within the United States military. Now, you and I both know, we're both attorneys, and you understand that constitutional rights, constitutional law has a little bit different application within the military. Yeah. But in this particular case, Matt, that's done in such a blatantly political way that I think we've seen not only that there has been an encroachment on a freedom of speech, but literally on a freedom of conscience and a freedom not to speak in this particular case, because officers like this are being forced into a form of affirmation under the cloud of being bigoted or discriminating if they don't.
Yeah, so it's not even so much what you say anymore, it's what you believe or think, which is chilling. It's Orwellian. Well, the Baptist Press reports at issue is Monk's refusal to reveal his personal views regarding homosexual marriage to his commanding officer. According to a Fox News report, the commander, a lesbian, asked Monk to report on a disciplinary proceeding for an Air Force instructor under investigation for making objectionable comments about homosexual marriage during a training session. According to Fox, Monk interviewed the instructor and determined his comments were not intentionally provocative, but some trainees had complained. Monk suggested that his commander used the incident as a learning tool about tolerance and diversity, but to no avail. Quote, her first reaction was to say, we need to lop off the head of this guy. The commander took the position that his speech was discrimination, Monk had reported. And at that point, she asked Sergeant Monk, Master Sergeant Monk, what his position was on same-sex marriage. And, well, she's just articulated that anybody who's against same-sex marriage needs to have their head lopped off, essentially, from a career standpoint. So he said, well, I'm going to decline to answer that, covering his own, protecting himself, from this very hostile lesbian activist in a military uniform. This is bad news for the military, Shawn, and it's only going to get worse if same-sex marriage becomes the law of the land in every state in the union, and that's for sure.
Matt, it's bad on a couple of fronts. One, as we've talked about, are the rights of the servicemen and servicewomen. It does appear that under the current circumstances, you really are checking your rights at the door of the United States military. But as important, and possibly even more important, Matt, is the fact that we're losing sight of the purpose and the need for the United States military. Now, let's think about this. In a time when we are looking at global challenges, strategic and tactical challenges unlike any that we've ever seen as a United States military, with threats coming from more directions than we've anticipated, more directions than we've seen in a long time. What's the topic of discussion here? Is it Syria? Is it chemical warfare? Is it nuclear proliferation? Is it strategic alliances? No, it's homosexuality in the military. Somehow we've allowed this social concern to overtake the purpose and to be a very distracting force in our United States military.
Yeah, it's uncanny, and the fact that Christians within the military are now in the crosshairs of these secularists, these postmodern secularists who have infiltrated and essentially taken over the reins of control in the military is chilling. Those who have come from a conservative and a biblical and a patriotic, if you will, worldview have made up the military for years and years. They are the ones who have protected our freedoms to hold a position, to believe, as do the majority of Americans, frankly, that marriage is what marriage has always been, between a man and a woman. And at a time, when the military's tasked with, as Rush Limbaugh often says, with breaking things and killing people, they're targeting good soldiers because they will not toe the politically correct line. And you remember during the debate, Shawn, leading up to the 2009 pulling of Don't Ask, Don't Tell and allowing open homosexuality in the military. You remember the debate. There were the two concerns that this would disrupt, by allowing a flamboyant and open homosexuality in the ranks of the armed services, would disrupt unit cohesion and troop morale. Well, case after case after case now, unit cohesion, as in this instance, has been disrupted by this nonsensical notion of same-sex marriage being and open homosexual behavior in the ranks of the armed services. And troop morale is certainly disrupted when you consider that since 2009, homosexual assaults, particularly male-on-male assaults in the military, are up by over a third. That's according to their own internal statistics and surveys, up by over a third, 30+% increase in homosexual assaults in the military since we lifted the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We saw it coming. We said it would happen. Here it is. This is today's military. Forget about the mission at hand. Let's push San Francisco-style social engineering.
Matt, there's also a political lesson to be learned here. Every presidential election that rolls along, we wind up in deep discussions over absentee ballots, which ones are going to be counted and which ones aren't, and usually have the two sides, left and right, that are coalescing around two different groups. The left coalesces around the absentee ballots of poor voters in the United States. The right typically coalesces around soldiers and sailors and the counting of their absentee ballots. Now, that tells you something. What it tells you is that the United States military, by and large, is considered to be a more conservative than not group of individuals. So what you also see here is using a social engineering mechanism to redefine the politics of what is typically a conservative group of people. It's actually a very politically astute move on behalf of the Alinsky tribe of political activists to reshape American politics through one of its most conservative manifestations, which is the United States military.
Very well said, Shawn. And folks, with every noble institution that adheres to traditional values and righteousness and upholds biblical principles, whether it's from the Boy Scouts of America to the United States military, like a horde of locusts, the progressives swarm in and destroy those institutions, remake them in their secular humanist morally relative self-image, and then fly away and leave the husk and the destruction behind. That's what we see in our weakened United States military, now a proving ground for liberal activism and radical social engineering. It's sad what's happening to America right now, folks, but don't despair. We should not be discouraged. As Christians, we are to be encouraged because we know that the sovereign creator of the universe is in control. Go to lc.org to help find out how you can join us in fighting for the values that made this nation the greatest nation on earth. Go to lc.org or call us 800-671-1776.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.